Hello everyone, hola todos. Welcome back to the TIki Tapas Podcast. This is episode number 12. 12 is a number important in football because oftentimes in the football club, in the football team, the 12th man is often the most important. What's the 12th man? The fans. And for us as well, our fans, our listeners, our viewers are our most important part of this podcast. With that being said, welcome to another week. As you know, this week La Liga has been finally decided. Barcelona, Campeones de España, very enthralling sort of campaign. Not It's kind of like an anticlimax, wasn't it, Rahul? The El Clasico. There were so many storylines. Whatever's going on inside Real Madrid, Barcelona having a point to prove after losing the earlier league Clasico, and they did it. They got over the line. But wasn't it a bit underwhelming? Would you say?
Yeah, I thought after the first 10 minutes that it could end 5-0 to Barcelona or even more. And I thought we were in for a record breaking game with how messy Real Madrid are and the way Barcelona started. But then they almost just took their foot off the gas a bit. They weren't missing players as well. I thought Real Madrid were terrible. There's so much we can say. There's so much that's already been said about both those teams. But yeah, congratulations to Barcelona, La Liga champions 2 years in a row now. And the first time the team has retained it in about 7 years, I think.
7 years, yeah. Last time they did it was with Ernesto Valverde in 18 and 19. Since then, it's been Atleti, Real, Barca, like that. So, yeah, great La Liga campaign for Barcelona. I mean, everyone is talking about all the big players, the big names in Barcelona. You got your Pedris and you got your Yamals, and you got your superstars. You got Hansi Flick leading the team. But I just want to take a very brief just time because I know that's not the philosophy of this podcast that we talk about the big two clubs. But I just want to give a shout out to a player. I think you will also agree with me that has came out of nowhere for Barcelona and has absolutely cemented himself in the back line. They've only lost one game with him all season, starting as a centre back, and it's not even a centre back. It's a left back turned centre back under Hansi Flick. It's Gerard Martin, who last season was a mess. Whenever he was asked to go forward playing from the left back position, he was a mess. But this season, he has taken everyone by storm. He's been an absolute revelation.
Yeah, and I think he is definitely one of the unsung heroes because the whole narrative is Barcelona's back line's not good. They're very good going forward. The high line is something that's an issue in Europe. But Gerard Martin, individually, he's been very good. He's been really solid. If you told a Barcelona fan this time last year that Gerard Martin would be the starting centre back and he'd be pretty good, I think people would have been shocked. But I think he also gets the best out of Cubarsí. I think after Inigo Martinez left last summer, there was a bit of an adjustment period, and there's still question marks over what the future holds for the centre back position. But given where Martin was and where he is now and what he's done this season, I think he deserves so much credit.
Yeah, 100%. I think he's gonna be a very important figure going forward in the next season. And Barcelona are reinforcing. They're set to be reinforcing the centre back sort of area. Maybe Bastoni is linked. We don't know. We're gonna talk. We're not the ones who are gonna talk about it. You've got other podcasts that go in depth about it. But we are gonna focus on something that made us as Spanish football fans very proud last week. Something that has made entire country of Spain and probably everyone who watches loves underdog stories. It made them all proud. Rayo Vallecano, out of all teams in Spain, are in the European Conference League final. How did that happen, Rahul?
It's honestly incredible. Like I can't understate. I can't. I can't
Yeah, I
describe
know, I
how
get it.
big an
Yeah.
achievement it is because the Conference League, I think, has actually been a brilliant introduction to European football. It's had some brilliant stories already. Fiorentina, Olympiacos, West Ham.
Mm.
This is so different. This isn't an already established big club kind of ending a trophy drought. It's not a Premier League side flexing their financial muscles over everyone else. It's a club that, frankly, shouldn't even be La Liga or in a European final. And they've balanced La Liga alongside it pretty well. They're 6 points clear of the relegation zone, but they look good value for staying up. And they've only 3 teams have used less players in La Liga than them this season. So to balance that, to get the squad firing on 2 fronts, and to not only reach the final, but to play very well doing so in both legs against Strasbourg, who are owned by Blueco. They have a lot more financial muscle. They have their own issues with the ownership as well, but nothing compared to Rayo. And yeah, in the first leg, they were by far the better team. I said this time last week, I'm worried about the second leg just because they didn't take their chances. The same thing happened in the second leg, but even more extreme. They were brilliant. They played such brilliant football. Strasbourg could barely get a sniff of the ball. Rayo should have been 3-0 up by half time, really. Then the striker I love to criticise, Yamal, has proven to be one of the most clutch players anywhere this season. He scored again. He again scored the winner in the second leg. And, well, they almost didn't win the second leg.
Yeah.
The penalty came at the end. And Augusto Batalla, who for me is one of the most impressive goalkeepers in LaLiga, pulled off a brilliant save late on. And it just felt like the fairy tale. And 2-0 on aggregate could have easily been 5. And yeah, here Rayo are going to, where is it, Leipzig?
Leipzig, yeah. Yeah, Leipzig. And in case anyone wants to sponsor Rahul's trip to the Conference League final, we are a podcast that focuses on these sort of stories, these sort of teams. So in case anyone's hearing, please get in touch with Rahul, and then maybe you can send him to the Conference League final. Rahul, you would be down for that, right?
Oh, absolutely, but would need some donation. I spent all my money going to Vallecas, so there we go.
Perfect. But that's the happy part of the European campaign we talked about. The other side of the European campaign, something we did not really expect, or I didn't know what we would have expected, but I'm talking about the second leg for Atletico Madrid against Arsenal. And it was just Atleti, they rested players for this particular fixture, for the Copa del Rey final. They threw away LaLiga. They just been resting players, putting in academy products on the pitch, only because their priority this season has been the Champions League. Since January, they have locked out of the La Liga. They have focused on the cup competitions. It's got them far in both the cup competitions. But against Arsenal, they were just subdued. They were like, I don't even know. I mean, yeah, Julian Alvarez did pick up an injury early on, but Griezmann looked the shadow of his former self, which he is considering he's 35. But it just seemed like the Atletico Madrid that beat Barcelona so dominantly in the previous round had just forgotten how to play football against Arsenal. And now a lot of people are raising questions whether the wins against Barcelona were flukes. Was it really a deserved win? Or was it because everywhere else they've been so inconsistent, whether it's in the Copa del Rey final, whether it's in the Liga now? Even yesterday, I think they played Celta Vigo. They lost. Again, now there's nothing at stake. Now they're playing their full team. Now there's no pressure or we need to rest players. They lost. So what do you think about? Because you saw them play against your team, Arsenal. What do you think was the problem with Atletico Madrid coming into that second?
Well, I think there's so many factors to consider here, and something we touched upon in one of the previous episodes was that they were willing to throw the rest of the La Liga season away. They were in a position to. But I don't think losing several games in between your cup final and your Champions League semi, I don't think that helps. Yeah. They had no momentum as a team going into the game. And in the second leg, Arsenal were comfortable. And I did say last week, I expect a narrow Arsenal win, which is what we got. What I couldn't believe was how little threat Atletico had. As soon as Saka scored and the halftime whistle went, it almost felt as if Atleti had they were like, well, that's it. And Alvarez and Griezmann came off early. Sorloth came on and he had one chance which he kicked into his own leg. But beyond that, there was one or two half-hearted penalty shouts. But Atleti offered no attacking threat, which is not what we expected. We expected them to be more open at the back and, dangerous going forward. I think part of that is Arsenal were brilliant defensively. And there are a lot of teams this season in Europe and otherwise who have tried to attack Arsenal and they've just found no way through. So part of it is that. But then I do question, as I say, does losing several games before a semi-final against one of the best teams in Europe, does it help? Should the attackers have been playing a bit more to get a few more goals behind them, a bit more momentum? Should Griezmann have been playing more and kind of got himself firing in front of goal. It's tough to say because then if they did that and the same thing happened, I'd have probably been here talking about fatigue. So it's a tough one to judge. But yeah, against Celta, it was a brilliant goal from the Panda, Borja Iglesias. But again, I mean, Atleti's season is done. There's not much point analysing this individual game. But
Yeah.
they had one or two chances with Sorloth. And clearly the motivation was completely gone. And it just feels like a weird time for them now where they've got absolutely nothing to play for. A few players might be leaving. Simeone's future's in doubt.
Yeah.
And what an underwhelming way to end what has largely been an underwhelming season. It could have been so different if they'd won the cup final, if they came into this game against Arsenal with a bit more confidence, with a bit more attacking momentum. It was still a narrow defeat, even though I think over two legs, the second leg in particular, Arsenal probably edged it in terms of who deserved to go through. Yeah, it could have been so different. In an alternate universe, we're looking at a Copa del Rey win and a Champions League final. And now, they've had 5 home defeats this season in all competitions. Their most, I think, in a single season since they moved to the Metropolitano. It all feels like it's going in one direction for Atleti, and that's not the direction they want to be going in.
Yeah.
And you do have to think, well, what are they going to do this summer? Will they have a big summer of outgoings, incomings? Do they stick with Simeone? Does he walk? Because that's still all up in the air. So, yeah, I think there's no other way to look at it other than what a disappointment it's been for Atleti.
Indeed. Very, very disappointing when you look at what they were expected of because of the position they put themselves in. Like, yeah, I mean, if the season ended in January, we would have said, yeah, we expect that from Atletico Madrid. Yeah, they slipped up in the league early. They kind of clocked out of that. And we don't expect them to. I mean, they had to play the playoff round as well in the Champions League, so they were not even the best 8 in the division. So if the season ended in like January, February, it would be like, yeah, that's Atleti, nothing to worry about. But then they kind of went on that run that deceived us or gave us all expectations that this could be their season. I mean, the last trophy they won was LaLiga in 2020. It's been way too long for a team like Atletico Madrid to collect some silverware in the trophy cabinet, I think. And I saw a quote from Simeone. I don't know how accurate it is, but I want to get your thoughts on it. He said, we as Atleti have already achieved our objectives this season. This being their objective, qualify top 4. For a team like Atleti, I don't know if this truth is actually genuine or not. I saw it in 4 or 5 sources, so I'm assuming it is. But let's just imagine he said that, even hypothetically. Is that really the mentality you need when you're fighting to kind of disperse the duopoly of Real Madrid and Barcelona, when you're trying to be the undisputed number 3 in Spain? Is that really the kind of mentality you need?
I think it's a tough one because if he said that 12 years ago, no one would disagree. Right now, with the money they've spent, especially in the last 2 years, the opportunity of this is the worst Real Madrid in a very long time, and even before Hansi Flick's arrival, the worst Barcelona in a long time.
Yeah.
So that is where the opportunity is to break the duopoly. In 2021, when Simeone won La Liga and Barcelona were a bit of a financial hole, Real Madrid weren't themselves, they were having a bit of uncertainty, they really need to kick on from that. And it's not as if they were the underdogs they were 12 years ago. They have spent a serious amount of money. They've spent more than anyone else. And yes, that's offset a bit by a few sales here and there. And not all of their signings have worked out the way Simeone would have wanted to. Someone like Alex Baena, for example, has been very underwhelming considering what he did at Villarreal coming in.
Yeah.
Over the years, João Felix, Cunha, like you can name a lot of players who've come there and not worked out for a big fee. Is that a management problem, a recruitment problem? Whichever it is, they, for me, have been below expectation. Simeone's biggest credit is that he's turned the top 2 into a top 3. But that's also then the breaking point where you can't then say top 4 was the objective. They should be and are at a point where top 4 is a given.
Yeah.
And then suddenly they're judged on the way they do it, how close they get to the title, what they do in Europe, what they do in the cups. And if they had won the cup this season, I think you still look at it very differently. You think, well, they've won some silverware for the first time in 5 years. That's a successful season. But to lose the cup final, yes, it's on penalties. It's tough for anyone. And yes, to lose to what is the team at the top of the Premier League, who have also spent a lot of money.
Yeah.
I guess in isolation, you could say, well, was there really an outright expectation, and was there, what's the word? Was there a kind of mentality which they had to beat Arsenal? Probably not. But they're about to finish below Villarreal side, from whom they've poached their two best players in the last 2 years. And they've spent, close to 300 million euros in the last 2 years. They've built arguably the deepest squad in La Liga. And so I think to falter to fourth place, it's not a good season, and the expectations have to be higher. It almost feels a bit like Arsenal at the end of Arsene Wenger's time, where despite them winning silverware, they kind of came in the top four when the expectation was for something more, for the title. And then eventually it fizzled out badly, and it took a few years to rebuild. Are Atleti at the same stage where they maybe need to take a step backwards to go forward? Do they go through a big rebuild, change the coach, and potentially fall out of the top four for a season, but then come back stronger and with a bit more ambition? It's tough to say, because Simeone, again, it's one where he's not moving forward, but do you want to take the step back?
Yeah.
And it's a case of careful what you wish for, but also we might be able to do more here. So it's such a divisive question amongst fans. I meet some fans who say they want Simeone gone. I meet some who say he's the biggest legend they've ever had. You've got to keep him. And it's almost as if they're in a freeze. And that kind of quote says it all for me. It's I don't think Simeone will be happy behind the scenes. I think that is one where he's defending his squad in public, he's defending himself in public. But the reality is that next season, do you see them at this rate breaking the duopoly, despite Real Madrid potentially heading into crisis? Do you see Atleti suddenly playing on the front foot, improving defensively, finishing second even, challenging a bit closer for the title, winning a cup, going further in the Champions League than they did this time? I don't see it. But then what happens if you change coach and you sell half the squad is you open up the possibility of falling further. So, I think it's not a great time to be an Atletico Madrid fan.
Definitely. Questions about Simeone, I think they are justified in a way. I mean, you've been there for so long. You have delivered, to be fair. You've delivered 2 La Liga titles. You've got a Copa del Rey. You've got a Europa League as well. But again, I said for Atletico Madrid, the kind of squad that he has built and the kind of you expect him to at least chip in with a few more Copa del Reys that he has in his bag, to be fair. I mean, teams like Valencia, Real Betis, Real Sociedad, they can. I'm not saying meaning in a disrespectful way, but they can build their squads around specific targets, and they can go on and achieve it. Atletico Madrid, why has it been such a long sort of period where they just look so uncertain in terms of going all the way, competing for have they even when have they, with any of their non-title winning seasons, have they taken the fight for La Liga until match day 37, 36? It's only when they win the title. But there's not really a 3-horse race or 2-horse race with one of the big clubs as well. So I think that is something we will get a lot more clarity on in terms of Atleti's future over the summer and what happens with Simeone. But talking about the titles that Simeone has won, of course, La Liga, I present to you this week's trivia with La Liga week, as I call it. But again, maybe I will ask you this question, and I think you will know this answer. I think because we've discussed this topic before as well. So Barcelona won the La Liga for the 29th time, and we thought Atletico Madrid won it twice under Simeone. I want to ask you, how many teams in the entire history of La Liga has won the title, and can you name them all?
So going back all these over
just the
yeah.
teams. Yeah, from 1929. No, you don't have to be 1929. It was this 1930. Or this.
Yeah.
No. Just the teams. How many teams? First, can you tell me the number of teams that have won La Liga? You can do the mental calculation. You can think it out loud as well. That would answer the second part of the question. That you have to name those teams.
So there's the obvious, well, big three: Barca, Real, Atleti.
Yeah,
You have Valencia,
yeah,
Athletic Club.
yeah.
There'd be. Just thinking in my head. See, going back to 1929 is where the complication comes, because if you go back even 50 years, it's a lot more. Yeah, I mean, the Sevilla,
Yeah.
there's. I want to say someone like Deportivo, like Real Sociedad. Betis ever won it? They must have done.
They won it.
Yeah.
1935.
Zaragoza?
No.
Ooh.
How many have you said? You said 8, right? Yeah. You're missing one.
Malaga?
No, you said it, but you were not sure of it.
Oh, Deportivo.
Yeah, Deportivo, 2000. Yeah.
Oh,
So
is that it?
yeah, that's 9 teams only. Actually, that's a very staggering fact when you see the quality of La Liga. That many people don't. Many people think that it's just a Barcelona Real Madrid duopoly. But even apart from that, it's only been 9 teams in the entire 97 years of history of La Liga since 1929. It's only been 9 teams that have won the title. So that's quite not nice. I would say it doesn't really help. The fact that only 9 teams have won it. I would have, as you said, Malaga. I would have expected in the earlier days they would have won a title. Real Zaragoza. These teams like that. There's historical sort of teams. I would have loved that they would have won some titles as well. But even Deportivo, they said they won trophy, one La Liga title. Real Sociedad, only 2 in their history. Real Betis, only 1 in their history. Sevilla, I don't know, I think 2 or something. Sevilla's got 2. Valencia's got 8. I think, if I'm not wrong. Athletic Club, I don't know about Athletic Club, but Atleti have 11 and Barcelona 29 and Real Madrid 36. So many years, only 9 teams that have won La Liga. So that's the trivia of the week. Only 9 teams have ever won La Liga in its entire history. Good job. You did well compared to the last
better on
week.
this quiz than the previous ones. Yeah.
Yeah. Good job. But from there onwards, let's move on. Weren't you saying to me that something was your specific moment of the week, something caught your eye? Would you like to present that as the moment of the week this time?
Well, yeah. So mine wasn't something that came on the pitch, but it did come during El Clasico, which we didn't want to talk too much about, but here we are.
Yeah.
And it was after Marcus Rashford's brilliant goal. Yeah. That wasn't my moment of the week.
Yeah.
It was when the camera panned to Lamine Yamal in the stands.
Yeah.
And not only is he wearing a pink jumper, he's wearing a pink Stone Island jumper with the badging. And I don't think I was expecting that at all.
Yeah.
The day you win La Liga as arguably one of the best players in the world, if not the best, sidelined shirt, you got your kit ready, he put his kit on to come on the pitch at full time.
Yeah.
The last thing I expected him to wear was Stone Island. And I think for those who aren't familiar with Stone Island, it's in England, in English football culture. It's a clothing brand worn by, back in the days of hooliganism, it was kind of how you'd identify it. And even now there's this whole saying, get the badge in, where it's a distinctive badge worn on the jumper. And so if you walk into a pub, I mean, I've got one myself, but if you walk into a pub, you see someone with a badge on, you know what they're about.
Oh.
I did not expect to see Lamine Yamal wearing that. So as soon as the camera panned to him, I instantly said, as I was watching it in the pub, right, moment of the week.
That's good. I'm glad that even when you're at the pub, you're thinking about what to talk about in the podcast in the future. So that's good. That's good. Alcohol doesn't sway your thinking in terms of this podcast. That's really good. That's really positive. But with that being said, let's move on to the final thing that we're going to talk about, which is a topic that has been building and building and building for the last few weeks. We've sprinkled about this here and there in the last few episodes. We've had one special episode just focused on that. But after 35 match days, first team that has been confirmed to go down to Segunda División is Real Oviedo. Now, when Real Oviedo started the season, it was like a fairy tale. It was a dream for so many fans who wanted to see the team come up and play in the Liga. Santi Cazorla himself, 41 years of age, he brought that team up to La Liga. Formula One driver Fernando Alonso, big fan. He's from Oviedo. He was in the stands cheering it on. Sid Lowe, fellow podcaster and Spanish football journalist, he is an Oviedo fan because he stayed there when he was doing university. So Real Oviedo, even Zoran Mamdani has stock in Real Oviedo because of when they had to sell the club and stuff like that. So that's such a like when Real Oviedo came up, it was such a global phenomena for everyone that goes a little bit deeper into Spanish football, not just surface level, but anyone that has a little bit like us, like anyone who has sort of an outsider information about Spanish football and the clubs and the going downs and the coming ups. Everyone was excited when Real Oviedo were selected to come up because they did so well in Segunda Division. But now, unfortunately, they're the first team to go down. And I think I would just commend them that it took them so long. Like I thought they would stay up. I mean, we're going to talk about what expectations they had this season, but I thought they were going to stay up just narrowly, maybe mid-table, below bottom mid-table, but still not out. But to finish the league in 20th, I guess it was coming, wasn't it, Rahul? It just never really got off the ground once they came here.
Well, yeah, it was such a fairy tale return for them to La Liga after 25 years,
Yeah,
a couple of playoff heartbreaks,
yeah,
almost going bankrupt. It was a fairy tale, but that's all it was really. There was no expectation that they would stay up, except from their president, Martin Pelaez, who remarkably claimed that they should be in Europe. So when the manager who brought them up after a 25-year absence, Veljko Paunovic, he got sacked in September, to my amazement, when Oviedo were actually not even in the relegation zone. They had a tough start of fixtures. They recorded a couple of wins. They were doing well. They were doing as well as they possibly could have. And the manager suddenly gets sacked out of nowhere, much to the fans' dismay. And the president is talking about, oh, yeah, we should be qualifying for Europe. And now they're finishing 20th. So on one hand, you get what you deserve, but I don't think the fans deserve that. I don't think the players or even the manager now, Guillermo Almada, they deserve to necessarily be 20th. They did play well at times. They did record a few good results, a few shock results here and there. They fought really hard to make it to game week 35 with it still almost in the balance. It was, well, it's better than any other bottom place team across Europe. Like, look at Wolves in the Premier League, for example. They finished 20th and everyone knew they were down by November.
Yeah.
Even in the month of April, going into that month, we were talking about Oviedo may have an outside chance if they can pull off a few more shock results. So it is a shame for them. Will they come straight back up? It remains to be seen because it took 25 years for them to come up last time. They might lose a few players here and there. For me, Aaron Escandel, the goalkeeper, has been one of the best, arguably top 2 in La Liga this season. He has been outstanding. He has saved them from further humiliation. The biggest problem Oviedo had was a lack of goals. Fede Viñas has found himself amongst the goals in the last few weeks, but it's been a struggle up front for a while. They have a few talented players. I really like Hassan on the right wing. Santi Cazorla, will he retire? Will he stay on for one more season? So it looks like there's a big rebuild job there. A few players might leave. I don't necessarily think they have the firepower to suddenly go to Segunda, a very competitive league itself, and blitz through it like you've seen in the past with other teams. So yeah, it's a shame. I've enjoyed having them back in La Liga because of the long absence. They've put up a fight here and there. They've played some good football at times. But ultimately, yeah, they're down. And yeah, who knows when we'll next see them.
Yeah, especially in a season where Oviedo had the chances because the entire bottom half of the table, no one wanted to get out of the relegation zone. Everyone was like, one week someone was going up, the next week you would see the team that was like 4 places clear of relegation was being dragged down in 17 and 18. So Oviedo, they also have themselves to blame because this was probably the easiest season to avoid relegation, even for 20th place to Oviedo. A 4 or 5 couple of good runs, and they could have been right now. They would have been in between 17, 18, and they could have really kind of motivated themselves at the final stretch of the season to get do better and get out of the whole relegation zone. But I think, yeah, as you said, there have been they sacked their managers, and I mean, you can't expect miracles in La Liga when you can when you are in the Segunda Division and you have to fight for 25 years and you've got that feeling that you got to push through, you got to come back. But once Real Oviedo came up, they probably knew the European thing was just thrown out into the wind. Like you cannot. I mean, I get dreaming. I love dreaming. I love teams that are ambitious, but come on, you just sacked your manager and you're just got came to the first division after 25 years, and you're saying you're gonna qualify for Europe. I love the thought, but it was just not meant to be. It was just not rational. But yeah, Oviedo officially confirmed, but still 2 places to go. Still 19th and 18th, which is the ever-changing landscape of La Liga relegation. Right now, it's Levante, who are 19th in 36 points, and Alaves, who are on 37 points. The 18th place team is on 39 points. Then it stretches up to place number 14, where Elche is with 39 points. So one result can just change everything. Like from 11th to 17th is just 3 points gap. 42 for Osasuna in 11, and Girona, how did Girona end up? What is this league, man? I mean, Girona works so comfortable up top. Now Mallorca is on 15, and and the team that we really had a special episode about. Now we're gonna have to talk about them again a little bit. Espanyol are 2 places away from relegation. It is so chaotic. I mean, I just saw a fact that Sevilla are closer to the relegation zone, closer to the Champions League than to the relegation zone, even though it's like 3 points for Sevilla. They're 40, and Alaves is on 37. And Champions League is 54. Real Betis. Now they're in 10th, but they're closer to the relegation zone than the Champions League. It's absurd, this whole thing, man. But Espanyol, I'm just so surprised that, I mean, it was coming because they have not won a single match this year. And now I guess all their sins are catching up to them. 16th with 39 points. Safety net, we don't know what's going to happen. But how do you think Espanyol are going to approach the next 3 games that they have left?
Well, I think they're in trouble because, as we said with Oviedo, with Levante, the teams at the bottom are winning games, they're getting results.
Yeah.
The only team that aren't are Espanyol.
Yeah.
And they were in 5th in just late December. They were talking about Europe.
Yeah.
And I think
realistically, not like Oviedo, realistically talking about Europe.
Yeah, realistically talking about Europe. But it's as we said in a couple of episodes ago, they've not been playing badly, but they've not been playing well. So when they were 5th, it was a bit of a false position.
Yeah.
And they were winning marginal games. Most of their wins were marginal wins.
Yeah.
In that same sense, most of their defeats are marginal defeats. And against Sevilla, that was, well, arguably the game of the weekend for me, because that went so far in determining what the table looks like now.
Yeah.
Espanyol were 1-0 up away at Sevilla.
Yeah.
They would have been potentially on for their first win in 19 games. Sevilla would have been very close to the relegation zone and losing a crucial home game. Then they turned it around and scored a 91st minute winner. Very good goal from Aiko Adams. That goal sent Sevilla up 6 places just from gaining those 2 points. And it's left Espanyol where they are now still winless. And for a while, for at least 2 months, I've said all they need is one win and they'll get back on track. It's now become a self-fulfilling prophecy. We haven't won in 18 games, and that's going to continue. It is a mentality thing rather than a quality thing for them. And that's why I actually disagree with something you said a few minutes ago. I don't think it's an easy league to stay up in because I think someone goes down with 40 points, and normally 40 points is a mark of safety. And you're going to get a team that has battled pretty hard you're going to get them going down. If Alaves go down, for example, it will be unlucky. It's not as if they've collapsed. They're fighting for every result.
Yeah.
Injury time, yeah, they've let in a few goals. They've also scored a few. And even Levante, they're in good form in the last few weeks. They've won in the 90th minute. And if they do go down, it will be a valiant effort. But yeah, one that's commended rather than a team sinking and sinking.
Yeah.
Espanyol, in their case, it will be disaster if they go down, given where they were.
Yeah.
And that will be a case of a team completely capitulating mentally and going down. But then when you look at that team, when you look at their performances as well, it just doesn't feel like a relegation side. So you're going to have a good side going down in this season. And that's how crazy it is that it's still, with 3 games left, it could be anyone. And yeah, I think there's some seriously big games coming up. Every goal matters. As I said with Sevilla, 1 goal takes them 6 places higher in the table. So every goal, every late winner, every penalty, every set piece in these next 3 games for all of those teams between 19th and 10th is going to be, it's going to carry tension. And yeah, so whilst the title's already done, there's not too much to look at there. Yeah, it's a fun one to look at a relegation battle. It's the most exciting relegation battle I can remember. And I just do fear for Espanyol. I said the same about Sevilla, but the difference is when all the chips were down, they had 2 big home games against Real Sociedad and Espanyol. And they didn't play well. They didn't play any remarkable football, but what they did was secure 3 points in both games, something that Espanyol haven't done in almost 6 months. And so now, again, I'm not writing anyone off going down, especially with Sevilla's fixtures. They still have to play Real Madrid and Villarreal. But the difference is momentum and mentality. And a team that hasn't won in 6 months trying to compete against teams who have won 4 of their last 5, but are still in the bottom 4, it doesn't look good for them.
Yeah, that's how it is in the relegation scrap right now. The titles, as we said, is already decided. Top 4 is already decided. But one final thing that I want to bring up on this episode is that since Rayo Vallecano got to the final, now Spain has an extra spot in the next season's Champions League. So that's 5 teams in the Champions League next season from Spain. 5th position right now is just separated by 4 points. Real Betis is 54 points. Celta Vigo is 50 points. What do you think? Who is going to end up getting that coveted 5th position? Is Real Betis going to bottle it? Is Celta going to go on and topple Real Betis? Who is going to be the 5th team that makes it to the Champions League next season?
I think it will be Betis, but just solely based off the points difference, because in Celta and Betis, you have 2 teams who are just very inconsistent right now. And both of them got, battered in Europe on the same day. Celta just hit their bad run of form by the time they faced Freiburg. I thought they were a bit unlucky in that sense. Betis were, they were abysmal against Braga. They threw away the lead at home. And in La Liga, if they throw away a Champions League place, then that's a really, really poor season for them, especially given the lifeline they've got. They have Rayo to thank for giving them a Champions League place. But you never know, because both of them have got fairly tough fixtures in the last 3 games. Although Betis do face, they both face Levante. And in Levante, it's a team that, in theory, both should beat at home, but it's a team that's also fighting for their lives. I feel like Celta have a bit more... I like the way they play a bit more than I like Betis right now. I think it's gone a bit stale under Pellegrini. And so in 3 games, you never know. If Celta suddenly smell the blood and smell the opportunity, they could end up leapfrogging them. But 4 points is a big gap over 3 games. And whoever gets there of the 2, they're going to have a really, really tough task on their hands next season. Because we saw with Villarreal this season, they almost weren't ready for the Champions League. And stuff like individual match preparation with extra games in midweek, it was a step too far. And they came 35th out of 36 teams. So whoever makes it out of Real Betis or Celta should build Rayo Vallecano and Inigo Perez a statue outside their own ground, and B, reconsider some of their ideas, especially Betis if they get it. If Celta get it, then Claudio Giraldes is up there with manager of the season, despite it being handed to him on the lifeline. I don't think anyone would have expected Celta at the start of the season to reach the Champions League. But it'll be the third year in a row in Europe for Celta. They've got a really nice project going on. I really like Giraldes. And the way they play, I think they are just quite inconsistent, and that will be exposed in Europe at the top level in the Champions League. But yeah, it'll be an interesting subplot there. I think right now, when you watch the top four, there's not much point watching the top four for the rest of the season. Even Villarreal is just a bit of it's just a procession towards third place. So for me, the relegation battle is where my focus is. But yeah, I think the fifth, sixth battle is also a really interesting one.
Perfect. I think that is a great note to end the episode on. We covered almost everything from the El Clasico to Rayo to relegation to position number 5, and also you guys got to learn about an interesting fact about how many teams won the La Liga. By the way, if you guys are wondering why Rahul is frozen, I think something went wrong on his end, but don't worry, the episode is over, so any technical glitches will be sorted out in post processing. But with that being said, Rahul, even though you're frozen, it was a great episode, don't you think? We covered everything we wanted to say. It was a short, concise episode number 12. And before we log off, you in your frozen state, can you just give people a peek, like a sneak peek or a teaser of what you might have planned for next week?
Well, I didn't even realize I was frozen, so I hope you can hear this. But yeah, we're going to do a Rayo Vallecano versus Crystal Palace Conference League final special episode.
Yes.
We've got a guest potentially lined up.
Yes.
I'm about to go on his podcast. You might know him on social media as HLTCO. A very big Crystal Palace page with whom I've collaborated in the past. He's a top bloke, and he might be the first ever guest on the TIki Tapas podcast. So stay tuned for the Conference League final, where we will be going very, very in depth into Rayo, the tactics, the build up to the final, the history of Rayo, and plenty more, because that is a huge, huge game. And I hope I'm not frozen. Let's see what happens in post editing. But
yeah,
like put it in a diary. We're gonna have that episode coming out.
Yes, it will be. It will be a banger of an episode, as you said. With hopefully, the first one to have a host, first of many. To have a guest, first of many guests on this podcast. But with that being said, from La Liga Vic and from Frozen La Liga London, it has been a pleasure talking to you about Spanish football. That is it, I think. Muchas gracias. Rahul will, in his frozen state, take us off the air by saying these precious words in Spanish that he uses to say goodbye to our viewers and listeners. So, Rahul, take it away whenever you're ready, man.
Well, I'll go back to the roots and just say hasta pronto.
Hasta pronto. Exactamente. Hasta la próxima semana. Ciao, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. It's been a pleasure. Talk to you guys next week. Bye-bye. I can't even ask you for thumbnail because you're frozen. Let me stop this.